Hi everyone. My name is Gordon Einstein. I am a crypto and blockchain attorney, licensed in the U.S., but practicing out of this wonderful city of Dubai. And I would like to welcome our fantastic panel discussing the intersection between foreign exchange and crypto. Very interesting topic. I haven't heard it actually discussed too often, so I think we're going to break some new ground, and it's going to be scintillating. Now, before we dive into the topic, let's go to each one of you, and please, who you are, where you work, and what is your particular interest or angle on this topic. So please.
My background actually is in crypto. I was part of a startup for a cryptocurrency exchange called Bluebit, and that started off as a meme token. We developed that into a cryptocurrency exchange and then an NFT marketplace as well. So I do have experience in this sector. And honestly, I love cryptocurrency as well, you know, with traditional aspects of Forex, but crypto is one of my hearts as well. So.
Why do you love crypto? And when did you realize that you love crypto?
So I realized I loved everything about crypto. I think back in 2018, I was sitting one day thinking everything is going digital. Why wouldn't money, currency, you know? And, you know, everything has gone, since we got the, you know, smartphones and apps and everything has gone digital, even the way we order food. So to me, I'm thinking digital money has to happen, right? So I started having a little look into, you know, deep dives of cryptocurrency. And that was back when, I'm certainly not very early, but many people were saying to us, like, why are you in crypto? Are you crazy? You're one of those weird people. You know, that's the stigma, right? But of course, I decided to buy.
When people tell me stuff like that, that just motivates me to kind of shove it in their face.
Now
right?
You can, right? We've got a little bit of back behind us now. But no, I just love the fact that it's going against the traditional financial system that most people have felt the consequences of, obviously since 2008 and the recessions and everything. This was something to say, you know what, I can take control of something myself here, you know.
Fair enough. Now, to the topic, I mean, you're sort of alluding to it, you're touching on it. Are these separate lanes, crypto and Forex? Are they near the twain shall meet? Are they beginning to overlap? What's the future here? What's the vision?
So I'll just add to something what Terry said. And this comes from a practical example. When we were working as, when I was working as a hedge fund trader for fund of funds, God as an honest truth, this was the meltdown of the financial crisis during the pigs crisis. We were sitting on the desk, we were trading fund of funds. For those of you who don't know fund of funds will have a various different funds. In each fund, you will have a various different equities within that. We had, the TA department had no idea each fund what it had inside. It was, and I'm talking about Bank of New York Mellon over here back then. So you are actually executing trades with another counterparty and executing knowing nothing what you actually have within that particular fund, and if you even have it. So I think at that particular time, we all discussed that, okay, how important the blockchain, where you know a lot about that.
You had your big short moment, right?
Yes.
So these mortgage bonds, so no one knows what's inside them.
No one really, absolutely, no one knows what each fund was very much holding back then. So okay, then fast forward that, got into joined EverTrade and set up their liquidity desk for CFD for Bitcoin trading. I think back then we were talking about $70 to $100 to $120, and then the prices started to rise to all the way to $90. And we saw real interest coming from the retail side because all the liquidity, all the flow was very much coming from the liquidity side. Now, to answer your question, the parallel lines are here. Why do you trade Forex? You trade Forex because you look for volatility. You like to trade 24/7 because that market is open 24/7. And then you wanted to make money on every single opportunity that the volatility represents. Now, when it comes to crypto, it's a completely different animal with respect to volatility, especially during the early days of crypto. So from the retail trader's perspective, this was amazing for them. So Now they can not only trade Forex, but they can also trade an asset class, which has a huge future. And as you guys have discussed earlier, before it was like, yeah, you walk into an MD office and you're talking about you wanted to set up a crypto desk, you wanted to, they will laugh at your face. But now the game has shifted. Everyone wants to be here. So Forex brokers now realize that if you actually wanted to occupy the major share of the crypto market, you have to have a crypto assets on your platform. From a user perspective, what do they want? They don't want it to switch between the platforms. They don't want it to go to Binance or buy.
Actually, let me pause you and ask the question before we pass it on. From a trader perspective, not from the back end perspective, but from a trader perspective, is it really that different anymore? Just very short answer, and then because I want to.
Sure. So from the volatility perspective, it was a huge difference, but now it isn't. Now the volatility has
They kind of
subsided.
converged.
Now it has converged, yes.
All right, let me pass it on. The question is, maybe you can give an overview or some wisdom about the interface between Forex and crypto, what the opportunities are, what the separation is, and maybe the evolution you're seeing and where it's going.
No, the traders overall are not the same, in my opinion.
The dangers, you said.
The traders,
Okay.
or the main traders in each market are not the same. It's changing. This is how I see it. Like, if you look at traditional financial markets before crypto, the main traders or the reference traders are the old guys, the experienced people, those who have been in the market for a long time. In crypto, it's not that, because the crypto market is first recent. Second, it's very technically sophisticated. It's not just financial. So we've seen, we're seeing, I think it's still going, a shift in who's driving the changes in the market around it. So the way crypto apps have been developed, for example, has been driven by the type of users that are expected to trade those markets. The way communication happens, the terminology used there, I think it's all driven by the type of traders that we're seeing there. And I think now...
So you're saying the type of traders? Like the human traders? Really? It's that personality driven?
Yeah, the personas, yeah. Yeah, because they are the customers, they are the target audience that will move this market. And what I think we're seeing now is replicating this crypto ecosystem experience into the Forex markets now. Most Forex companies now, even if they don't want to offer the same products as crypto companies, they want to offer it in the same way, the same look and feel, the same structure. I think eventually it will become one thing.
Terry, as someone who loves crypto,
For the
do you still play in Jurassic Park? Or are you only interested in?
say that again. Sorry, it's so difficult to hear. Say that again.
So it's sort of a gestalt or overview question. We're examining whether or not Forex, as to the theme, we're examining whether or not Forex and crypto are really two separate markets still, whether they're merging, where the friction points are. And maybe because you love crypto, I'll add in there. Do you see everything, even Forex, maybe kind of being subsumed under the crypto rubric? Because eventually it's all going to be on the blockchain anyway. So what's the difference at the end of the day?
I think similar to what you were saying as well, with the fact that I think a few years ago they were very different. I think Forex traders, well, don't want to say hate, but there was a battle between crypto traders and Forex traders. Now there seems to be becoming a bit of an overlap. And like you just said before, the markets are open in crypto 24/7. And that's the difference. The opportunities are there. The flexibility is there. The freedom is there. So if you're a traveler and you want to move around the world and you still want to be trading, you're not tied to the markets of traditional, financial markets as it has been. So I'm seeing a big overlap. I'm also seeing, and I'm sure you are as well, people want to get into crypto, but they're unsure if they've been traditional finance, Forex trader for the last 10, 15, 20 years. There's a little bit of hesitation to jump in because they're used to what they're used to, right? And this is definitely very, very new. And again, it comes back to that stigma, which I think is still prevalent in the market. There is a crypto stigma, which I think is being diluted now with the new markets, but it's definitely each new cycle that we get, it's
Sorry,
fizzling
let
through.
me jump in because that's a great point. My grandfather used to say, "Yucks makes bucks." Okay, like sometimes sometimes you go where other people don't want to go, or they're afraid to go, or they don't want the reputation thing. But that actually is a market inefficiency, as long as it's legal,
Yeah.
and ethical.
Yeah.
There's actually a market. If people don't want to do it because it's not sexy or because they feel inhibited, there's opportunity there.
Definitely.
So, and as someone who loves crypto, where's that stigma from? And why is it dissipating? And what's the path towards making it like everything else?
I have my views on this. I think the mainstream media have done their absolute best over the last 10 years, let's say, to make it the worst criminalized, let's say. It's been dressed in this light. For whenever you see it in the news, in a movie, it's always used in a negative way. And you never hear the stories about crypto where they've done good. And there is many, many good. Sending crypto cross borders very, very fast with zero fees for charities and building things, which I've been a part of, so I've seen it firsthand. They're not reported on, of course. They're not reported on. You just hear the negative stigma. But I think, as I said, it's being diluted slowly. And I think our job in the industry is to educate and to spread a different message and to also, one of the main questions I get is, well, how do you get your money out? That's the number one question I get asked if they're not in the space. Obviously, most people here are in the space.
My question is, how do you get the money out of fiat?
Yes.
I think people have it exactly backwards.
This is the thing, right? That's the thing. Sometimes I'm like, why do you want to take it out? Long-term holding, But of course, they do want to know how they can access it and get it back into their bank accounts. That seems to be, I think once that's cleared up in the mainstream and they understand this, and that comes from framework in their countries, regulations, of course. Obviously, the UK, where I'm from, they're still struggling with the frameworks, although it's progressing for sure. Here, in the UAE, how forward thinking are they here? This is why we're sitting here today in the crypto hub, because you can get your money out wherever you like, This is the thing.
And now, I think finally, or yesterday or the day before, the dirham is now on chain.
Yes.
It's live. But just to stay on that point for a second, do you think, does Bitcoin still really have a stigma, or is that effectively gone?
I think Bitcoin's becoming trendy now, it was a little bit of a stigma before, but I think now when people say, oh, I trade Bitcoin or I'm a long-term holder of Bitcoin, people now are jumping on it a lot more now. I'm seeing the changes for sure the last couple of years. I'm sure you guys have been had the experience as well. Sort of 5-6 years ago, when you're saying to people, Bitcoin will be 100,000 very soon, they're like, no. I've had arguments with people about it, and I'm like, look at the white paper, look at the fundamental elements of Bitcoin. There's no way that it cannot keep moving up if the demand is there, of course. But
Fair enough. So let's. I like going kind of in order here, and you're touching on it, and we'll expand on it. The regulatory aspects, other than regulation good or regulation needs to improve, what needs to happen for crypto trading and crypto asset trading to take its place alongside the regular markets?
That's an excellent question. I think they've already happened, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience, they know about that. 1, when the futures came. 2, when the ETF arrived. 3, now the options have arrived. 4 is speaking of reserves, a government reserve going into Bitcoin. Not only the United States, now you are talking about, even as of yesterday, a statement from Russian President Putin, who's also talking about what? Reserve currency, putting Bitcoin in the reserve. So it all started with Tesla when they announced it with the reserve. I think now, of course, Microsoft said no for now, right? But I think the fact that we have a pro-crypto president in the United States, the next 100 days are going to be immensely important, because in the next 100 days, they're going to set the precedent where the Bitcoin is really going to be going for the next 4 years. So I think we're going to see only more and more adoption. If you look at the ETF inflows in terms of a Bitcoin, they are at a record high. Now, the biggest Bitcoin company, MicroStrategy, has become the part of which exchange? NASDAQ. So you had an opportunity before where you were having an exposure.
I'm not going to move on, but I'm going to ask you a question. You're raising an interesting point. There's like, it's actually not what I meant, but it's interesting. There's like levels of adoption which lead to implicit acceptance. So yes, when you have an ETF, you're implicitly saying it's legal. Let's roll back. I remember when the Bitcoin got seized from Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road guy, and the government auctioned it off. They don't auction off cocaine when they seize it, right? They don't auction off, weapons when they seize it, or kiddie porn. Okay, they don't auction off illegal items. They can only auction off legal items. Did the government sort of, to take your argument, which I haven't really heard before, did the government sort of backdoor legalize Bitcoin when it sold off Silk Road's stash?
I cannot agree more. And you know what? I'm going to give you a perspective in that. I think when the United States sold its Bitcoin, what was the value? In the recent research, I think it was about 50 million.
Really low.
Really low. And then
if Germany did something stupid like that also.
And if they would have sold it now, you are talking about 5 billion. And then the same thing happened with the German government as well. When they did it, before President Trump became the president, and then we saw a hit in the Bitcoin prices, and then all the news was because it's a German government which is selling Bitcoin. If they would have sold it now, they would have billions against the Bitcoins that they've sold.
They could almost restart their nuclear power plants. Okay, regulation. What's your thoughts? I mean, again, not we need it, but kind of go deep. What practical things need to happen? Where do you see the role of regulation in this, in terms of these becoming proper tradable assets like Forex?
Well, in crypto, sometimes regulation is needed in general to get more confidence in the masses and everything. But sometimes regulation is an obstacle, really, in the development. Sometimes it's an obstacle in the development of products like crypto and related, the whole related ecosystem. But you can't just ignore it, because the parties that have the say on what can be done, what's legal, what's illegal, are still the government. So you have to follow the regulation. There has to be a balance between what restrictions to be put into products like this and what is left to be done in the unconventional ways. I still think it is not going as fast as it should be.
The regulation is not going
the regulation.
Okay.
We're seeing some regulators more than, like, if we were discussing crypto regulation like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, at that time you would discuss if they're gonna allow it or not. Now, are they gonna regulate it now or later? So it's progressing, but it's at a slow pace. And because the reference for all regulators, most regulators I've seen so far, the reference is the conventional financial products. So they try to reference the new transactions to what they've seen, what they know in the traditional finance. I think it's still slow, but it's better than what it was like a few years ago. I think it will continue to improve until we have a better setup.
So I am frustrated by, I'm licensed in the U.S. Part of the reason I'm here is after trying to work with the regulators for a while, I realized the regulators, from my perspective, don't want to be worked with. There's regulatory theater, there's kabuki, but they didn't really,
In the U.S.?
In the U.S., not here. I'm here because it's different here.
No, in the U.S. No.
No. So I moved away 4 years ago after.
No, I mean, maybe next year things will start changing in the U.S.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
We'll see. President's plan, Supreme Court laughs. So we'll see. But I wonder. I mean, was it things moving slow because the regulators didn't understand it, because the incumbents were working behind the scenes to quash it? What was your sense?
I think it's first because they didn't understand it, and then because of what I mentioned as how they want to reference transactions to the traditional way, like the anti-money laundering transactions. How do we control this? How do you monitor that? Because it impacts so many other things in the whole financial setup in place. But I think this is improving. Like they're understanding that this is how it should be. They're putting proper regulations. I think Dubai specifically has been very proactive in that.
Okay, yes, it's improving, but what I was getting at is there were potentially reasons why it was going slow. And it wasn't just because it happened, but maybe because governments were afraid of it, maybe because incumbents were fighting it. And if now it's getting better, I was kind of teasing out what's changed, where the incentives changed, such that the regulators are beginning to move a bit.
I think because it's they're working with the concept as a whole as it's a reality. Because again, if you remember, few years ago, you would hear things like banning crypto trading, banning Bitcoin in some countries. This is not something you hear about anymore. So it's the way being looked at is changed. But it's important also because the people who would work at regulators are not the type of profiles who have created crypto and worked in crypto and developed all
I know, everyone makes fun of those guys. I tried to be one of those guys. I'm too old. Terry, so this sounds like a sweet topic for you and something you've thought about a lot, especially someone who, like you said, loves crypto. Did you feel the frustration I did with the regulation, and what's your industry perspective on this?
Yeah, I think that obviously crypto is designed so that it would be unregulated by the governments, but I think for it to move forward, it has to, it has to have some sort of regulation where people feel safe. And we are seeing each country taking their stance on it now. Again, this is the last 5 years, it's sort of changed. And I think now with the implementation of, and the rise of CBDCs, central digital bank currencies, that is going to be even more stark for users and traders and clients of brokers, because we will start seeing these CBDCs coming into each country, I think within the next decade, I would say. They're already working on it now. And I think that this is going to sort of lay the landscape for the regulation for other cryptos. And at the same time, I think have a clean out of some of these altcoins that we see creating bad reputation for the market. It's very easy to make a token. They rug pull, they honeypot people. And I think with the regulations, you'll see much, much less of these. And on saying that as well, one thing I wanted to say today to everyone is, if you are in the DeFi space, just really, really search and do your due diligence and check on, because I have heard people say, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. If your education is key, as I said before, do your due diligence and check. If you're not going to go through a regulated broker or centralized crypto exchange and you're going to go DeFi, learn certainly how to check the smart contracts and the functionalities in the contracts. That's going to keep you safe out there.
Do you like CBDCs?
I don't think they're going to do many good things with it. The concept is good, but I think it's going to be more about controlling the people again. That's unfortunately where I think it will be heading. It's going to be a tale of two, because the mainstream person that's not into crypto will be thinking, okay, well, the governments are now introducing their own digital coin, so this is a good thing. But then it's going to be used as a controlling factor, I believe.
I mean, let's use that out since you brought it up. To you, are CBDCs actually crypto, or is it just electronic money taken another level?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a topic up for debate. The fact when something is on the blockchain and is decentralized, as far as that's for me is crypto. All of the cryptocurrency out there that's adopting real world usage and utility, that for me is crypto. Some of the altcoins that we see pump and dump, that's fun, right? That's a fun gamble. That's putting all your money on the roulette table in some of the cases. And I've made money on some of these tokens. I think many of us have. You think, oh, I just put something on there. But the ones that we all know and love, Cardano, XRP, the top 10, that really, Chainlink, they all have their use in the real world. So
Interesting. Okay, so final question because we're out of time. 1 year from now, what will Bitcoin be?
150,
How much?
150.
That's it?
Yeah, I think the road.
You make me cry. Okay, go.
200.
What?
200.
200.
yeah, I was actually going to say 175, but now it seems like I went in the middle of you two. But yeah, 175, I think.
Audience, 1 year from now, what will Bitcoin be? Million.
Yay! yeah.
You and Eric Trump say million.
Yeah.
Or was the end of Trump's term? I can't remember. Okay. We're going to be back here at exactly 1 year, and we're going to have
I know. Let's
the
make sure
victory
we've got it.
dance.
It'd be
And I hope she's
fantastic.
right. All right, big round of applause for our panel. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.